Man, you know what? I don't know. I messed up, y'all. I messed up entirely. I forgot to add myself to the screen. I'm sitting here talking and giving my whole spiel, and people are like, "What? We can't see you or hear you if you're talking. We can't hear you." That's crazy. Now I got to do this all over again. That's crazy. I didn't realize I didn't even have myself up on the screen. And the thing is, I had myself up there, but then I took myself down. You know what it is? Because I'm so used to having a background up there and then taking the background down and then adding myself instead of having myself up there while the music is playing. And then, so that's what ended up happening. Anyway, let's do this all over again. And I'm going to try to speed this up because we only got 2 minutes before 6:10. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the Friday live stream. I can't believe that I did that. Like I said, I can't believe I did as many streams as I did this week because usually I don't do that many streams like that. I was basically saying if I do streams like that again in the future, I'm going to have to take a day off in between. They cannot be back to back like that. Rob, I salute to you for actually being able to do those marathon type streams, especially at the time that you do them, as late as you do them, because I know that I'm not able. I know that I'm not able to do it, me personally. I know my limits. But shout out to everybody in here. So many people, I can't go back to the names again. I literally was reading y'all names off and nobody heard it because I wasn't on screen. Y'all couldn't hear me. And I didn't even realize that until I looked at the screen and was like, my picture's not up there. Hey, y'all, it happens. I'm human. I am human. But what I was saying, though, we are almost at 65,000 subscribers on this channel. We are less than 100 away. I'm at like 64,900 something. I didn't see the exact number, but it's right there. So we're less than 100 away. I personally think that could be knocked out before the end of the weekend. All right, now everybody can hear me. It is currently 6:10, so let's go ahead and get this thing started. And I always like to start off with good news first. So let me start that off right now. Let me make sure I got my tabs right. Shout out to the reigning king of music. I don't give a damn if they try to take away his title and give it to these less thans. Michael Jackson from beyond the grave has broke yet another record. So the last time I talked about Michael Jackson was when he had 2 videos that crossed 1 billion views streaming wise on YouTube. And those songs were Billie Jean and They Don't Care About Us. Well, now he has broke yet another record. He has a 3rd video that just crossed 1 billion views on YouTube, and that was Beat It. And I looked at the numbers. He's actually about a little over 50 million away from his 4th billion dollar song / music video / short film crossing 1 billion views, and that will be Thriller. And the irony of it is that the Thriller 40 documentary is airing tomorrow on Showtime and Paramount Plus if you have either of those platforms, which is, of course, celebrating the 40th anniversary of the release of Thriller. And I do plan on watching it. Unfortunately, I do not have any of those platforms. I don't know why do you want to put some of the stuff that I want to watch on platforms I don't have, so I got to find another way to watch it. So I may not be able to watch it when it first airs, but I will be watching it eventually. And I probably might actually do like a review on it and all of that good stuff. But let's see what it says right here. And this is actually coming off of K104online.com. It says the reigning king of pop, or as I like to call him, the king of music, has continuously reached milestones in his career. Between most viewed videos, chart-topping anthems, and recent as well as upcoming posthumous films, Jackson has and forever will be the one to beat. Jackson recently reached yet again another milestone. For the 3rd time, Michael Jackson has broke the milestone of being part of YouTube's billion views club. Members of this club are artists who have reached over 1 billion views on their music videos, which makes it even more remarkable that he reached this milestone just this week, despite the video being released back in 1983. I might have to do that, Cac. I might have to do that, Haxon. And shout out to AB Promotions for the $1.99. He says value chain. Appreciate it. This billion view record break is in regard to the iconic Beat It video, which has become YouTube's most recent billion view stream on the platform. This is the third time Jackson has hit the billion view mark, as he also hit it for his Billie Jean and They Don't Care About Us videos. Regardless of his unfortunate passing, Michael Jackson will forever be an icon to many. To celebrate his career and continuing accomplishments, make sure to keep streaming and supporting his work. And don't forget to watch the Beat It video too for some more nostalgia. And that's it right there. Now, of course, I'm not going to play the song on here. Y'all already seen the video. Y'all heard the song many, many, many times. Just make sure to keep on playing it. And like I said, the next video that's most likely going to hit 1 billion views for him will be Thriller, because right now it's currently sitting at like 949 million views. So that's naturally going to be the next one. And of course, the timing is right because the documentary comes on tomorrow, 40 years of Thriller. So people going to run them numbers up. I don't know if it'll cross 1 billion views because it's not like it's sitting at 999 million views, but the numbers are going to run up for sure, a couple of mil by the end of the weekend. So again, shout out to the forever icon, the legendary. It's so many words to describe this man and his artistry and him being an all-around entertainer, amongst other things, for achieving yet another milestone. And this man has been deceased for like over a decade. Insane. But that was the good news right there. So now that we have gotten the good news out of the way, now it's time to get into the nonsense. Y'all ready for the nonsense? Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this story right here completely blew my mind when I first heard about it. Now, we often hear that when people come to work, they often say that if you're always tardy, if you're always late, eventually we're going to fire you. But in this case, with this Applebee's worker, he showed up on time and was still fired and was arrested. Make that make sense. Some of you probably heard about this, but in case you haven't, we're going to go ahead and read this article for Hip Hop Vibe that was posted November 21st, 2023. Man gets arrested for showing up to work early and then gets fired. Some work environments are hostile by nature, no matter how hard a person works. However, most people arrive on the job knowing things will be tough. Still, these people are able to work, deal with the drama, and know they will still have a job. In addition, they know they won't be going to jail. But one man working at an Applebee's in Mississippi got arrested for arriving to work early. Also, he lost his job. It's often said that there's some people in life who will be difficult regardless. No matter what a person does, they won't be able to have everybody as a friend. When a person reaches adulthood, they accept and understand that lesson. Simple facts of life remain proverbs that stick with a person throughout their life. However, there's a fine line between dislike and getting arrested for going to work. Recently, a Mississippi man showed up to Applebee's early to go to work. When he got there, the police ended up being called on him despite explaining the situation, telling the police that he was going to work. He got arrested. In addition, when the job found out he was fired, the man shared the arrest video on TikTok, accusing his manager of being behind this. And that's the whole article right there. I've never, ever heard of something like that before. And yes, I would definitely be suing the hell out of them for doing that. It's like, how do you not know that this is your employee? This person sees you at work every day that they come in. You know their face, you know their name. Now you want to act different because they showed up to work early. Maybe there's a reason they showed up early. Maybe we don't know how far this person has to drive to work. Maybe to avoid traffic, or maybe they're a hard sleeper and they use like, you know what, let me just get there on time. You know, that way there's no chance for me getting there late. Like, I've never heard of someone getting fired for showing up to work early. If I was running an establishment, I would be glad if I had all my employees show up to work early. Because, you know, it's so easy to show up late. It's very easy to show up late for any reason. It's not just because the person just decides to come late. It could be a multitude of things. But if you had people that showed up on time or even earlier than they were supposed to be there, that's even better. I take it in my account for me when I go to the gym because I have a trainer. and our sessions start very early in the morning. And our sessions start at 5 o'clock in the morning, from 5 to 6. So I have to set my alarm for 4 just to be out the house by 4:30 and be there by 5, ready to go. And that's not the easiest thing to do, especially when, if your sleep patterns might be off or if you are a hard sleeper. But thank God for that alarm. But ironically, one day this week, I ended up missing that because I forgot to set my alarm. But I was able to make it up yesterday. But yeah, and the irony of it is, this was a black worker. They don't have their picture up here, but this was a black worker at this Applebee's. And in true dub ass fashion, the usual suspect, it was a PC person, I believe a woman, who was the one that ended up getting her own employee fired. I hope his coworkers rallied behind him and walked off the job and left her having to deal with all those customers. That's how I take it. Tia said she was in there doing drugs or stealing or a brothel allegedly. As crazy as that sounds, and we are definitely going to put allegedly, I wouldn't be surprised if she was in there doing some stuff that she wasn't supposed to be doing, and he got there early and she didn't want to have him see whatever it is that she was doing that she wasn't supposed to be doing. And then this is in Mississippi. Go figure. Remember, this is the same state Brett Favre is in, the welfare king. I know I haven't talked about him in a little bit because they refuse to put stuff out there about him, but I be checking. That this is where the welfare king dwells at. Just saying. But I hope that this employee, he gets the most out of this, because what if this was his only job? What if this was the only place of employment that he worked at? Because they didn't say what the age of the employee was, so I don't know if he's like in his 20s or if it's in his 30s. God forbid he's a college student and he's working there to make money to support himself. Now you just took away his livelihood, and you got him arrested for what? For showing up to work early. But anyway, y'all, let's move on to this. Hey, Rob, I don't know if you're still in the chat or not, but I don't know if you talked about this or not on your undocumented bros. But in case you haven't, here's a story for you. Coming out of Chicago, where you had 3 south of the Borderians who were charged with theft during Black Friday. And you want to know what's so interesting right here? There was a couple of stories that were lined up in this same fashion. You had the south of the Borderian literally stealing stuff during Black Friday shopping. I actually have a video that I recorded about one of them. That's not this. That y'all will be getting somewhere down the line. Y'all know I do one video a day. But I said, let me just go ahead and throw this one in there, because I said I don't want to do back-to-back videos that we're talking about pretty much the same thing. I said, let me give the live stream one and do a pre-recorded for the other one. But this is one of them right here. Now, what's crazy is when you find out how much they stole, it's like, was it even worth it? Put a guess in the chat if y'all want to know how much they stole. Put a guess in the chat of how much they stole. Not if you want to know how much, because I'm going to tell you. Put a figure out there of how much you think they stole, because they said they stole from an Elmhurst Kohl's. Jay the informant said 300 worth of merch. Rob said 300. Someone said $10 worth. Now, this is not money, y'all. This is merch. This is not money that they stole. This is how much items they stole and what it totaled up to when they got all the items back. Denise said 500. Haxon said 10K. Buzzercam said 400. Johnny Ali said $40. 200, 10,000, 600, 700. Okay. Well, all of you all were incorrect. Some of you were close. They only stole worth $500 worth of merchandise. Y'all heard that correctly. They stole $500 worth of merchandise from this Kohl's, which means that they pretty much only stole clothing items, because that's pretty much all Kohl's sells. is closed. $500 worth of stuff is it. It says charges have been filed against 3 Venezuelan migrants after they allegedly stole over $500 worth of merchandise from a department store in Elmhurst on Black Friday. Elise Mary Zapata, age 37, Christian Saavedra Omana, age 21, and Broad Avendano, age 33, all of Venezuela, were arrested at the Coles located at 303 South Route 83. Elmhurst police were called to the store around 1 p.m. for reports of a retail theft. The trio allegedly stole several articles of clothing and left without paying. The 3 suspects then re-entered the store and stole more clothing before they were arrested. That's how dumb they are. Now, why would you steal out of the store and you pretty much you got away? Like if they stayed out of the store, they would have got away with it, but they decided to go back and get more stuff. They were greedy. So greed is what got them caught up. Greed is what got them. They could have got away, but because they went back into the store, that's how they got caught. Officials said that Ledesma Zapata was in possession of a large magnet used to thwart the store's anti-theft devices. The total value of the items stolen from the store is roughly $500. I got a question. Rob, I'm about to pull one of your moves when you be asking questions, because I got a question. These 3 came from Venezuela. How the hell did he get in possession of this magnet to thwart off the anti-theft devices? Because the security devices, where did you get that from? I'm trying to figure this out here. Someone please help me out. That means they had to, this was definitely planned. This not when people go and rob somebody, those are some of the crimes that are not done, in my opinion, off of just off of the random. This is always intentional. They planned to go into this store. This guy had a magnet to knock off the security device so it wouldn't go off when they went out of the store. So Queen of Spades said he stole it. Hey, wouldn't surprise me in the least bit that was definitely the case. After all, they did steal $500 worth of merchandise from the Coles. And you want to know what's also interesting is that you have people out there that will say things about Chicago, and we know that it's a dog whistle for Black people, but they don't want to talk about this. I'm like, do you know how many stories are out there where you have the South of the Borderian out there committing all types of crimes in Chicago, which seemingly looks like every week and has been for like the last couple of months? I know about it. Blacklight Revelations knows about it. I'm sure there are people in Chicago who know about it too. But whenever you have the usual suspects talking about Chicago, they don't like to talk about this part. Unless, of course, it's affecting them. Of course. Ross said, is magnet in Spanish Magneto? I highly doubt it, but yeah, these kind of crimes happen often. And like I said, I have another video that y'all will be getting soon that's going to talk about another incident that happened also in like the Chicago area that lined up just like this, but it was 2 of them instead of 3. Oh yeah, I got some awesome news that came across my Discord feed right before I started off this live stream. Does anybody out there want a Derek Chauvin update? Does anybody out there want a Derek Chauvin update? Some of y'all probably heard about it, even though it just came out like maybe about an hour ago. No, that's not the news, Chris, but I mean, It was close. It was a close call. So we all know what happened to Derek Chauvin. I did a whole Triple P about it. Had a very good turnout. And ironically, when I say Derek Chauvin, the view count jumped up. So we all know that Derek Chauvin got carved up in prison. That's all we knew. But they just revealed how many times he got jabbed. 22 times. He got jabbed 22 times. Now, the irony of this, how many years is Derek Chauvin behind bars for? Isn't it roughly around 22 years? It's something around 22 and a half, somewhere in that range. I wonder if the person who did it was counting. Let's go ahead and check this out. Article was posted on December 1st, today, at 4:04 p.m. The inmate who stabbed former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin in federal prison last week did so 22 times with an improvised knife, a shank, according to recently filed criminal charges. He also admitted to corrections officers that he would have killed Chauvin had they not responded as quickly as they did. So basically, the person who did this wanted this to be a slow expiration for him. He didn't want it to be quick. He wanted it to be slow and painful. But they just said that if they didn't come as quickly as they did, that he would have got him. And when it comes to the shanking thing, it's not like Michael Myers when he does his thing with the butcher knife. That takes a little time. With the shank, it's very quick. The jabs are very, very quick. The U.S. Attorney's Office identified the alleged perpetrator as 52-year-old John Turskak. So now we have a name of the person who did it, John Turskak. He now faces charges of attempted murder, assault with the intent to commit murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, and assault resulting in serious bodily injury. Chauvin was badly hurt after he was stabbed in a federal prison 1 week ago. The charging documents indicate the stabbing happened in the law library at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson, Arizona. Chauvin is currently serving his 22-year. Man, listen, if this isn't poetic, 22 years, 22 jabs. A WCCO source earlier this week said that Chauvin was hospitalized following the attack, but was said to be in stable condition. The Associated Press reports that Turskak told investigators they attacked Chauvin on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, as a symbolic connection to the Black Lives Matter movement and the black hand symbol associated with the Mexican Mafia gang. However, in contrast to what corrections officers reported, Turskak told FBI agents that even though he'd been thinking about assaulting Chauvin for a month because he is a high-profile inmate, he denied wanting to kill him. An attorney for Turskak was not listed in court records, and Turskak, who has represented himself in numerous court matters from prison, remained in custody on Friday. Chauvin's attorney, Greg Erickson, who complained over the weekend that his family was not notified of the stabbing until well after the news broke, told WCCO Friday that they were extremely disappointed they allowed this to happen, and that is not shocking that someone would target Chauvin. Erickson reiterated that the prison should have done more to prevent it from happening. It is not clear Chauvin will now be moved to a different federal prison. During both his federal and state criminal proceedings, Chauvin's defense attorneys asked he be sentenced to a federal prison in or near Minnesota to be closer to his family, and we see how that turned out. Visits at the Tucson prison are still suspended in the aftermath of the stabbing. The FBI spearheaded the investigation into the stabbing, and the prosecution is being handled by the U.S. Attorney's Office District of Arizona in Tucson. Chauvin is now the second high-profile federal prisoner to be stabbed in recent months after Larry Nassar convicted of molesting members of the U.S. women's national gymnastics team. Can't say I feel bad for either one of them. So, yep. Now we have a name. I'm going to look him up and see if we can find a picture of this dude. It looks like we don't have a picture. I should try to look one up. Oh, well. But that's the person who did it. Here's the thing. No matter where they try to move Derek Chauvin, if they do try to move him again, he's not safe anywhere. I thought we established that in the live stream that I did a couple days ago. He's not safe anywhere he goes. He's not a likable person. He's not well received by anybody, and it shows. Oh, well, listen, y'all, this is going to be a long 22 years. This is going to be a long 22 years. And it's what he deserves. Moving on to the next story. This story right here came out about a month ago, but it just kind of got legs like last week. I'm gonna play the news clip for you, and then I'm gonna read the article, and then I'm gonna show you something that adds more context that the article nor the news clip even mentioned.
Lamar County Police asking for your help in a fatal hit and run. The Lamar County Sheriff's Department says the hit and run happened Saturday, October 7th, in the area of Westover Drive and Oak Forest Drive. Sometime that evening, Lamar County coroner identified 26-year-old Donivan Barnes as the victim. Now, if you live in the area, law enforcement is asking you to check your doorbell or outside cameras.
Any type of Ring camera or who knows what type of closed caption TV or camera systems that people have at their house, but mainly like the Ring cameras and things like that people would have in that area that could help us in any way.
If you have any information, please call the Lamar County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers.
All right, so that's the news clip right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the actual article itself, and then I'm going to show y'all something that's going to be even more interesting about this situation. It says the Lamar County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in identifying a person involved with a possible hit and run. They identified him as the victim as 26-year-old Donivan Barnes. They said the cause of death is still pending, so on and so forth. I stopped reading because the article itself turns out to be nothing more than a transcript of the video. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this because, like I said, the news clip and the article left this very important part out about the situation. Look at this screenshot right here. So in this picture on the left, the black guy, this is Donivan Barnes. This is the victim. On the right is the one who was involved with deleting him, and the person on the bottom is his mother. Let me read this to you. Mississippi man killed and hit and run by 23-year-old white male. He left the crime scene and returned with his mother to quote unquote clean up the scene and misplaced the dead body. The body was found by relatives after searching for him. The police were never contacted at the time of the accident, and all charges have been dropped. There you go. Now, remember, I told you that this story was posted a month ago, back in October. It did not move at all until last week when people got a hold of it and this started to circulate. They kept this story real hush hush. And ironically, another story coming out of where? Mississippi. Do I have any people in the chat right now who live in the state of Mississippi who heard about this story? Do I have anyone in this chat who lives in Mississippi right now that heard about this? Because I'm just trying to figure out. Mr. Power 2 said that you live there. Mr. Power 2, did you hear about this story? Does the name Donivan Barnes ring a bell to you? Like, did you hear about this story last month? Well, not last month, but in October. Eli said that they got family there. Did your family tell you about this, or they didn't, like, or whatever the case may be? That's crazy, but I'm not shocked. Eli said no. I'm not surprised by that either, unfortunately. And see, the fact that I have people that have family there, as someone who lives there, and they said they didn't really hear anything. Like I said, they did their best to keep this under wraps. And unfortunately, they were very successful with it. Man, that's crazy. Oh, shout out to you. I was like, who was Mr. Power to? But then you said you was hitting the like on this account and headed back to DSB. So, okay. Hey, I appreciate it. But yeah, this is a messed up story right here. Definitely, without the shadow of a doubt. Let's move on to the next story. And that is a person who's not having a good day. George Santos was expelled from Congress in a historic vote. Another person I don't feel bad for. At least we know his expulsion from Congress is not a lie. And the reason why they said that this is a historic vote is because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm gonna read the article, that this is the first time ever in history that a Republican has been expelled from Congress. Like, they got him up out of there. Like, they tried to actually salvage this man's career. I'm like, with all the lies that he came out with, like, and granted, many of them up there are still perpetrating the fraud the damn selves, but his lies right here was like astronomical. Like, everything that came out about this dude was a straight up lie. I remember when I was doing a whole bunch of videos about this dude, and it was like, is there any honesty? Is there any kind of honorable part of your life that we can talk about? Because everything you keep putting out there is nothing but one big fallacy. The House on Friday voted to expel Representative George Santos over his many fabrications in the 2022 campaign trail and his 2 federal indictments. The vote makes Santos just the 6th lawmaker and the first Republican to be expelled from the House in U.S. history. The vote comes after the House Ethics Committee released a report accusing Santos of a complex web of unlawful activity involving his campaign, personal, and business finances. The measure required a 2/3 majority to pass. Representatives Jonathan Jackson and Al Green, not to be confused with Reverend Al Green, voted present, and Representatives Bobby Scott and Nakima Williams voted against the measure. I hate that they bulleted everything with this story instead of just typing it up as a regular just paragraph based article. But either way, he's out of there. He honestly, in my opinion, stayed on a little too long, in my honest opinion. But they got him out of there. And I think it's the thing of the fact that George Santos is a Republican, and they didn't want that stain on there. Not that they don't have any already, but this one in particular. But the thing is, like, you was fighting an uphill battle. You wasn't going to win. Like, if you kept them on, then people was like, would have looked at you sideways, and then the pressure would have been even more for you to get him up out of there. But now it's still like a interesting look because he's the first Republican ever in history to be kicked out of the House, who never should have been there in the first place. Maybe he can go back to his homeland if they'll accept him. FM said if he was black, he wouldn't have been there long enough to know where the bathrooms are. Right. Because like I said, they let him stay on way longer than he should have. Like they had him staying on there for a while. Because I said they were trying to hold out hope that this would pass. But it's like the longer they held on to him being there, the more and more stuff came out about him. Imagine if they would have just got rid of him right when the stuff started spilling out. Some of that stuff we probably wouldn't even know about. But the more they kept him on there, the more and more stuff came out to the point where it was like, okay, we tried. There's no way we're going to salvage this. We can't save this man's career. We got to get him up out of here. So they had to make the ultimate decision. And like I said, there's probably more like him out there, but his dirt was stacked like a mountain. Yeah, Lana, I see your comment. When he said that, I was like, okay. If y'all want to see like the lies and stuff that he did, I did a whole video about him last year when he was floating around in the news a lot. I did like this very lengthy video going through all of his lies that this man has told that we knew at the time. It's been more stuff that came out since then, but it was a lot of stuff that was piling up back then when we first learned about him. Let's move on to the next story. Now, this story right here is going to piss a lot of people off. And it's going to go right into the narrative that I keep talking about, where I say that black people are not allowed to defend themselves in this establishment. And for those who do and manage to get some kind of self-defense plea on their side are an anomaly.
Just hours ago, a Bell County jury sentenced Marvin Guy to life in prison. Guy was found guilty of murder last week for the death of Killeen Police Detective Chuck Dinwiddie during a no-knock narcotics raid back in 2014.
6 News reporter Sydney Deshawn sat in the courtroom and breaks it all down for us tonight. Sydney?
Chris and Lindsay, this all came down on Chuck's wedding anniversary and the day before his birthday, and it only took the jury 34 minutes to come to their decision. The state went over Guy's prior convictions in other states to enhance his sentence, which the defense objected to. Some of these included robbery, possession of a firearm as a felon, and controlled substance with intent to deliver. After the jury came to their decision, Guy had no expression, but Chuck's loved ones put their heads down in tears and hugged one another. Multiple family members and a SWAT team member gave their victim impact statements next. The jury learned Chuck was thinking about leaving the SWAT team because another officer died in the line of duty. Chuck was also supposed to be off the day tragedy hit, but his family says he was dedicated to protecting his people. Chuck's family thanked the jury for their verdict tonight.
We want to always find the goodness in people. We always want to give them that advantage. But some people, like this current felon, we just don't find much goodness. And those are the people that need to have their just punishment. And I know my brother believed that. And we stand behind that.
Now, Guy is not eligible for parole for 30 years. He will be 89 years old then. Tonight at 6, we hear from Bell County District Attorney Henry Garza, who explained his thoughts on the trial after almost a decade of waiting, guys.
All right, so y'all just saw that right there. Now, this story right here reminds me so much of what happened with Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker. Because as you all know, with Breonna Taylor, there was a no-knock raid that happened on their apartment, which is why, unfortunately, Breonna Taylor is no longer alive today. But when Kenneth Walker fired back, albeit when he fired, he didn't take out the person that did the no-knock. And Kenneth Walker ended up getting arrested. He ended up getting charged. Of course, thank God for Judge Olu Stevens for dropping the charges. And Kenneth Walker has been a free man ever since. Unfortunately for this guy, whose name is Marvin Guy, who was sitting in jail for 9 years, hoping that, that he would be found not guilty for the same situation, of course, which resulted in the death of this cop. He got found guilty and he got sentenced to life in prison and can't be eligible for parole for the next 30 years. Remember what I kept telling y'all whenever when black people do the self-defense thing, it always goes against us, even when we're defending ourselves. This was a no-knock raid right here. It's because of stuff like this, which is why they put it on books that they made it illegal. I don't know if it's just in that state or on a federal level. But he didn't know who was coming into his house. He probably thought someone was breaking in. And look at what happened. It took them 34 minutes, y'all. 34 minutes. A little over half an hour for them to come back with the verdict of guilty. Look at this. Guy was found guilty of murder of Dinwiddie during a no-knock narcotics raid in May 2014. Though it was a capital murder trial, which means they was going to give him the death penalty, the jury found him guilty on a lesser charge of murder last Tuesday. So they were prepared to give this man the chair, but they found him guilty of just a lesser charge of murder and not capital murder. Now, peep this. It says prosecutors went over Guy's prior convictions in other states in hopes to enhance his sentence. So the prosecutors were going to other cases that were outside of this to enhance his sentencing in this case. It had nothing to do with what happened, but they were trying to attach other things or trying to attach other things to his case so they could enhance the sentence. I mean, he already got life with the possibility of parole in 30 years. He's already done 9 of the years. But what's interesting is that while Marvin Guy has been sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 30 years, there's another person who should be in jail right now that's not, for what they did to Elijah McClain, because they got their job back in $200,000 in back pay. If this is not the epitome of Operation Protect the White Boy, I don't know what is. Nathan Woodyard is going to get his job back after he took out Elijah McClain, and he's getting $200,000 in back pay. Basically all the money that he did not make while he was on the bench, so to speak. And he got his job back. The Colorado officer who stopped Elijah McClain in 2019 and placed him in a neck hold was reinstated to the Aurora Police Department and will receive $200,000 in back pay. Nathan Woodyard's reintegration into the police force comes weeks after a jury found him not guilty of manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. Woodyard had been suspended without pay for 2 years since he was indicted for his role in the death of a 23-year-old man. An Aurora spokesperson said city law mandated that the department offer him his job back after his acquittal in a criminal trial, and that he would receive $212,546 to cover the salary from his leave. Woodyard, one of the 3 officers who have faced prosecution, is returning to his job despite playing a pivotal role in the initial stop of McClain and using force tactics that the local coroner's office has ruled contributed to his death. This man literally just got rewarded for killing a black man. I want y'all to understand what is going on here. They literally are trying to make it seem like Nathan Woodyard is the victim here. Poor Nathan. All he did was what was lined out for him in his job description. All he did was take out a little N-word, no harm, no foul. And this is what happens to him. Poor little Nathan. Let's give him his job back and his $200,000 plus in back pay. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him some kind of new job, a job where he's making more money. Had this been reversed, this would not happen. And I know it wouldn't happen because remember what happened to those two cops down there in Louisiana a few years ago when they was going after that PC man on that high speed chase, and he tried to use his car as a weapon. And then one of the cops who was black shot into the back window, not realizing that the man's son was in the front seat, and accidentally killed the kid. They immediately lost their jobs as being cops and got arrested. Did they get their jobs back? Because I think one of them is not in jail anymore. But did they get their job back? Did they get their back pay? Nope. Exactly, Iron Will. Muhammad Noor, he didn't get his job back. They were mad that he got out of jail early, but he didn't get his job back with the Minnesota Police Department. This guy literally murdered this man. Practically bragged about it because we saw the pictures and we heard the audio. Was found not guilty of anything. And he got his job back, plus the $200,000 plus back pay that he didn't receive after not working for 2 years. And you got people out here that keep trying to say that PC privilege is not real, that systemic white supremacy is not a thing. If you don't get out of my face with that bullshit and stop trying to insult my intelligence and damn near try to raise my blood pressure, because y'all know that's what pisses me off. They better keep an eye on him. That's all I'm going to say. Now, let's move on to this next story right here. Now, this next story could have easily been a bed bucking / triple P type of story. But I said, after all of these live streams that I've done so far, let me just go ahead and throw it into this live stream right here instead of doing it's on its own separate stream. So you have this person right here whose name is Phillip Fisher Jr., black man. And I put that in quotations. And they say he is a Republican and he is a quote unquote faith-based leader for the Philly Moms for Liberty chapter. If y'all are not familiar with the Moms for Liberty, it's basically a bunch of Karens spewing a bunch of anti-black rhetoric all damn day. If that's pretty much the gist of it. But anyway, it came out that he is a registered sex offender. Imagine you being the only black guy there and you organize this event for a bunch of PC women for whatever reason, and it comes out that you're this. Now that's going to make their organization look kind of shaky because imagine you have a person who's a registered sex offender who's black man organizing an event for a bunch of white women, and you're called Moms for Liberty. And it says he is a pastor, a ward leader who coordinates faith-based outreach for Philadelphia's Moms for Liberty chapter, pleaded guilty in 2012 to a charge of aggravated sexual abuse. Phillip Fisher Jr. is a pastor and Republican ward leader who coordinates faith-based outreach for Philadelphia's Moms for Liberty chapter. He is also a registered sex offender due to a 2012 felony conviction for aggravated sexual abuse of a 14-year-old boy when Fisher was 25. 69 Candles said, I think they knew who he was. Oh, no doubt about it. A lot of the times these individuals know who they're dealing with, but they deal with them anyway. But look at that. a 14-year-old boy when he was 25. Fisher insists that he did nothing wrong despite pleading guilty to one of the 12 counts filed against him after an investigation by the Chicago Police Department. Well, then that means that you know what you was doing. You pleaded guilty. You didn't plead not guilty. What are you talking about here? Fisher was living in Chicago at the time, but he's from Philadelphia and has since returned and become active in local politics. I guess he figured if he buck danced enough that this would hide his rather checkered past. He is the pastor at the Center of University Divinity in Oni and works with Moms for Liberty, a national conservative organization that bills itself as a defender of parental rights by connecting the Philadelphia chapter with other local faith leaders in an effort to grow the group. He said his conviction is the result of a quote-unquote railroad job concocted by the Political Action Committee for Lyndon LaRoche, a fringe conspiracy theorist who ran repeatedly for president. Fisher, who worked for LaRoche's organization, called it a cult and said he was set up while trying to break free. His criminal history came as a shock to Vince Finnerty, chair of Philadelphia's Republican City Committee. Finnerty said he was unaware of Fisher's conviction until asked about it by the Inquirer last week. This kind of reminds me of another person that I talked about. I forgot who it was, but it was somebody who was working with, I think, Charlie Kirk's organization or something like that. And it had came out that they too was a sex offender. I know because I talked about it over the summer. I just can't remember the person's name. It says he demanded and receives Fisher's resignation letter as leader of the 42nd Ward, which includes the neighborhoods of Oni, Feltonville, and Waniata Park. A national spokesperson for Moms for Liberty did not respond to a request for comment about Fisher's criminal history. Sheila Armstrong, another Republican ward leader who chairs the local Moms for Liberty chapter, said she was also surprised. She said Fisher has been active in community outreach events with local and federal law enforcement, and she expressed concern that children were sometimes part of that. Here's the thing. A lot of these conservatives, or these Republicans, as I like to call it, James Smith, ironically, a pastor, a lot of them have very shady past, and they try to, I guess you can say, engross themselves with a particular group to try to hide their blemishes. Armstrong was astounded to hear about Fisher's criminal past because she had just received from the State Department of Human Services on Thursday a child abuse history certification in Fisher's name so that he could volunteer for an upcoming Christmas party for an autism nonprofit that she operates. Interesting. Very, very interesting. That certificate said no records exist in the state's database listing Fisher as a perpetrator of an indicated or founded reported child abuse. A DHS spokesperson asked about the certificate and said not all criminal convictions involving minors are considered child abuse under the state's Child Protective Services law. Fisher is listed on Pennsylvania's Megan's Law website for registered sex offenders maintained by the Pennsylvania State Police in a file last updated in July. That includes some details about his conviction, annual photos he is required to submit, and his home address in Philadelphia. Fisher has been an active participant in local and national politics in recent years. For Moms for Liberty in Philadelphia, he said he helped connect the group with other pastors, a rabbi, and an imam. Given that I am a known, respected pastor throughout the city, I have ties with different religious organizations from Philadelphia to Lancaster. The National Moms for Liberty organization held a summit in Philadelphia this past summer where denying transgender identity for children and removing books from school libraries were major themes. The summit featured speeches from former President Donald Trump, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and Florida Governor Ron DeSnowflake. Armstrong, who was a part of the planning committee, said Fisher was a volunteer at the summit. Fisher, in 2 interviews with the Inquirer, confirmed the details of his criminal conviction. He repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and called his conviction one blip in his background. He blamed it all on a dispute about his trying to break away from the LaRoche organization and said the 14-year-old boy and his parents were part of that group. It was a political situation that happened between me and Lyndon LaRoche. Fisher said it was a member of his camp party that made the accusation. They pushed it through, though, it was really a railroad job. Documents from the Cook County. Well, here's the thing. If all of this was just fake and everything like that, then why is it that you're still on the sex offenders registry? Because if it turned out to not be true and they could get that removed and that situation taken care of, wouldn't they have taken you off of that sex offenders registry? Documents from the Cook County Clerk of Circuit Court show that a grand jury there indicted Fisher in January 2011 on 12 felony counts of sexual assault and aggravated criminal sexual abuse. Fisher waived his right to a jury trial 15 months later and was adjudicated guilty on 1 count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse of a minor between the ages of 13 and 17. The charging documents allege that Fisher had, I'm going to not say what it says, O and A sex with the 14-year-old boy. I hope y'all understand what it is that I'm mentioning without saying the full word. The documents don't say how Fisher met the 14-year-old, how the case came to the attention of law enforcement, or any defense Fisher offered in the case before pleading guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and given credit for nearly 20 months, and he spent in jail waiting for his case to come to court, followed by 2 years of supervised release. I'm not going to read any more because it kind of gets repetitive, and it's a pretty lengthy article, but by now y'all pretty much get the gist of it. But yeah, I'm gonna have see black people out there who want to be, aligned with these individuals. Y'all got to be very careful because they will dig stuff up on you. They will dig stuff up on you and use it against you. Y'all can tap dance all you want and collect these biscuit crumbs because y'all ain't getting the whole biscuit. But eventually they will destroy you and they will find a way. Mike says, is Fisher black? Yeah, this is his picture right here. Yes, it is a black man. Imagine that this black man is doing organization work for a enclave of PC women that are staunch S. It's fun they call themselves Mounds for Liberty and they're out of Philadelphia, yet the whole organization is filled with PC women. Make that make sense. In Philadelphia, y'all. Let's move on to the next story. Ironically, this story right here, when I was in New York last week, I heard about this. This man named Stuart Seldowitz.
Tonight, an arrest in the case of viral video showing a man spewing hate at a halal cart worker in Manhattan. CBS 2's Alice Gaynor shows us it happened on the Upper East Side.
64-year-old Stuart Seldowitz was arrested Wednesday, charged with a hate crime, stalking, and harassment. Police say the former national security official is the one seen in several cell phone videos going on hateful rants at the Adam Halal food cart on 83rd and 2nd Avenue.
And we're going to put big signs here that say, this guy believes in Hamas. You're a terrorist. You support terrorism. Listen. If we killed 4,000 Palestinian kids, you know what? It wasn't enough.
24-year-old Muhammad Hussein, whose boss translates for him, says Seldowitz was not a customer, but came over to ask him where he was from. And when he replied Egypt,
the guy started telling him, you supporting Hamas.
So Hussein started filming. The video does not show the initial encounter. CBS New York tried repeatedly to get in contact with Seldowitz, who alleged to other news outlets that Hussein said he supported what Hamas did. And that's what got him so upset, a claim Hussein denies.
We would rather if he came and apologized, and instead of him trying to flip the story.
We have no problem with nobody. Don't try to create problem. People could die for something like this.
Yasser Nawar is part owner of the cart and says he doesn't understand why Seldowitz would keep showing up to try and provoke a reaction amongst heightened tensions over the conflict in the Middle East.
I don't know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to say. Situation is very irritated anyway. We don't need more spice in the situation.
But what happened here has seemingly only brought people together.
We have mostly Jewish customer in this building. This lady and this lady make cake for us last night.
Neighbors set up a table next to the cart, encouraging people to sit down and eat together.
They're really wonderful people and they care about the community that they're in, and they certainly don't deserve this.
On the Upper East Side, Alice Gaynor, CBS 2 News.
All right, so y'all just heard that right there. And like I said, I heard about this last week when I was in New York. Now, what's interesting about this Stuart Settlewitz guy, and I don't think that the news clip actually mentioned it, is that this dude used to be an official under the Obama administration. And what's very interesting, I don't know if y'all heard about what's recently been going on. Harvey actually did a video about it on his channel today. Apparently, allegedly, what's going on over there, they knew that was going to be happening for well over a year. So this wasn't allegedly a sneak attack. Apparently, allegedly, they knew about this for over a year. Yeah. That got reported today. Like, this dude literally came up to that cart and just started harassing. He took one look at them, and because of their look, he thought that they were over, from there. But they told him that they were from Egypt. Now, we all know, for those of you who have a geographical map, knows that Egypt is in Africa. And you heard what he said in the video. Like, he basically was saying, I'm not going to repeat it, but it has something to do with mass death. So, like I said, give them enough time, let them talk long enough, and they will tell on themselves every single time. Every single time, they will tell on themselves. All right, we got one more story, y'all. We got one more story about somebody who most likely does not need to be on the road for the safety of not only others, but themselves. And that's Tiffany Haddish. I have not talked about Tiffany Haddish on my channel probably since that scandal with her and Ari Spears popped off last year. I think that was the last time I talked about Tiffany Haddish. So Tiffany Haddish said that they want her barred from alcohol and drugs after she gets her second DUI arrest. They said the actress' latest DUI arrest comes almost 2 years after she was previously arrested in Georgia on a suspicion of a DUI. At this point, they need to take her license. Georgia state prosecutors want to modify Tiffany Haddish's bond conditions to restrict her from using drugs and drinking alcohol following her second DUI. According to a court document obtained by People, prosecutors have filed a motion to modify the 43-year-old actress and comedian's bond conditions to conclude a request for the court to prohibit her from drugs and alcohol after she was arrested last Friday and faced a DUI charge. They are requesting that Haddish be tested weekly for drugs and alcohol while on bond. Haddish's second DUI arrest, which occurred last Friday morning in Beverly Hills, California, and subsequent charge comes almost 2 years after she was arrested by Peachtree City police officers in Georgia for a suspected DUI and improper stopping on a roadway. A rep for Haddish previously declined to comment on the actress' latest DUI arrest. Last Friday, the Beverly Hills Police Department told People they received a call around 5:45 a.m. local time about a woman who was in the driver's seat of a running vehicle stopped in the middle of the Beverly Drive. She was arrested and released later that day. Haddish had performed the night before at the Laugh Factory in West Hollywood as part of the club's annual Free Thanksgiving Feast community event. She is now facing a DUI charge, according to the Beverly Hills Police Department. The Girls Trip actress first addressed the DUI arrest on Friday night while performing a stand-up set for a previously scheduled gig at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach. According to an audio recording of the set, which was captured by an audience member and obtained by TMZ, Haddish was asked what happened last night. Per the recording, she replied, "You tell me," before joking. "I had prayed to God to send me a man with a job, career, preferably in a uniform, and I answered my prayers." I'm glad she's finding this to be funny, considering that she could have harmed someone else or even herself. Like, I get the joke that she was putting out there, but that's not something to laugh at. Like, you was literally under the influence of alcohol and drugs, and was on the road. Thankfully, you had enough coherence to just stop in the middle of the road. I mean, I would rather her stop in the middle of the road than to keep driving and hit something or someone. And like Eli said in the chat, it's time to get a chauffeur. If you're going to drive under the if you're going to be under the influence of anything, and you can afford it, it's not like you can't afford it. Get a driver. At the very least, get an Uber or a Lyft. I'm sure somebody out there is gonna be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I picked up Tiffany Haddish." She says, "I'm going to get some help so I can learn balance and boundaries." Haddish told the outlet, explaining that her Tesla had self-parked when she fell asleep, but was blocking part of the street when the department officers arrived and arrested her. Well, that's one good thing with that Tesla. As for the January 2022 incident, according to authorities, officers received a 911 call around 2:30 a.m. local time about a driver who allegedly fallen asleep at the wheel on Highway 74. While en route, the officers spotted a vehicle that matched the description and did a traffic stop. Subsequent investigation led to Miss Tiffany Haddish being arrested for driving under the influence. Police told people at the time she was transported to the Fayette County Jail without incident. Now, this is the scary one right here. They said she fell asleep at the wheel on Highway 74. So she wasn't on a residential street. She was on the highway when she fell asleep. That is very scary. I don't know about y'all, but there has been time. There was one time when I think I was just tired. And, whenever you feel tired, just pull over to the side of the road. Just put your emergency lights on so people just know to drive around you or, to slow down. If you're feeling tired or you feel like you ain't going to make it, just pull over to the side of the road and turn your emergency lights on. That's it. Because what if she was just right there and someone was driving at a speed and they ran right into the back of her? But this just shows you right here that even people who are celebrities, they still have their faults. Like some people be thinking, "Oh, I can't believe this. I can't believe them." I said, believe it. This is highly weird we're talking about right here. But what they just need, in my opinion, what they need to do is they need to suspend her license. If it was up to me, her license will be suspended. That would actually force her to have to get driven wherever she needs to go. Because she's basically showing you right here that she's not safe on that road. And it's always a risk now. Like people gonna always look, oh, she's driving. Is she under the influence of something? Even if she's completely sober. But that's a risk people are gonna not gonna take dealing with her antics. But anyway, hopefully she goes and gets the help that she needs. Another place she needs to go is rehab. Take her license and make her go to rehab. As a matter of fact, make that something she has to do. If they take away her license, she can't get it back until she goes through a full rehabilitation program. And that rehabilitation program has to last a certain amount of time. It can't be no 1 week, not even 2 weeks. Let it last at least a month. And make her go as often as possible. Of course, if she has, scheduling, things and of that nature, then that's, she can make up those days. Miss Renee says she needs to stop drinking altogether. Right. Because some people cannot handle their liquor. They can't. If you are going to drink in a party or whatever function it is, you need to have one of two things: a designated driver, someone who's not going to drink, or someone to come pick you up, or you need to get an Uber or a Lyft. That's pretty much all that boils down to. If you're going to go to a function where you're going to be drinking a lot, like whether it's a club or a party or any type of event that there's a heavy alcohol flow, you're going to consume, you need to have one of those three things. But anyway, y'all, that was the last story of the day. Shout out to everybody who came through and supported and was active in the chat. Shout out to AB Promotions for being the sole super chat contributor of the day. And shout out to Lisa Hickman for being the sole Cash App contributor today as well. I definitely greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who came through. If you are a patron on Patreon, y'all know y'all got a new video today. Shout out to all of the members. All of my subscribers were almost at 65K. I think that could be knocked out before the end of the weekend. Shout out to everybody on the social media, Instagram, Twitter, those who are in the Discord. Shout out to you all as well. We will be back on here tomorrow with the 11 a.m. video. The premiere window for that is up. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go and check out to see what we're going to be talking about. The name of the video is going to be called Operation Protect the South of the Bordarian. Yeah, we slipping into another territory with this one. Make sure y'all have your notifications turned on for that one. And with that being said, be safe and be one.